In a textile production area, exposed fabric rolls continue spinning with open access to the rotating shaft and pinch point. On a construction lift area, a concrete hopper hangs from a crane line when the steel cable snaps, sending the load into nearby work access. On a red truck bed inside a loading area, suspended equipment shifted overhead as active work continued inside the open load path. Inside a closed workshop, gas cylinders clustered beside benches and electrical equipment before a hidden leak ignited and released pressure through the work area. At a roadside tree felling site, a tension control strap loaded against the trunk until stored energy snapped back across the cut path. Tree pulling systems require rated straps, protected contact points, verified anchors, and a cleared snapback path before tension is applied. Any frayed fiber, uncertain rating, sharp bark contact, or visible recoil line should stop the pull. Inside an industrial cooking area, a long tool entered an open heated pot, disturbing vapors before ignition flashed across the floor area. Heated vessels require vapor control, fuel isolation, ventilation, compatible tools, and clear spacing before agitation begins. Unstable flame, fuel odor, poor airflow, or vapor buildup should stop the task before ignition sources remain active. At a warehouse entrance, the sliding gate began closing before the trailer tail fully cleared, creating a tight, moving pinch path against the frame. Gate movement must wait until trailer clearance is verified. Use stop lines, mirrors, tail swing checks, zero vehicle movement, and a confirmed open path before any latch, gate, or control point is approached. Inside a production mixing room, cleaning access remained inside the open mixer when the rotating head suddenly energized. Mixer cleaning requires lockout, energy isolation, visible cleaning status, and deliberate restart authorization. Start controls must remain secured until the mixer interior is verified clear and all access points are closed. Inside a restaurant kitchen, gas-fed cooking equipment operated beside open prep lanes before hidden vapor ignited and released pressure through the room. Gas equipment requires odor checks, ventilation, burner inspection, shutoff access, and ignition source control. Any gas smell, weak airflow, burner fault, or abnormal vapor condition should stop relighting until the system is inspected. Inside a machine room, exposed feed rollers stayed energized while loose material gathered near the open nip and rotating pull point. Open feed points require guarding, lockout, zero motion verification, emergency stop access, and proper clearing tools before jams are touched. Loose material must stay outside the nip path while rollers remain energized. In a narrow residential work area, a metal scaffold frame was lifted as overhead electrical clearance became the active hazard. Conductive frames require verified overhead clearance before lifting or repositioning. Keep metal structures below line paths, use non-conductive handling where possible, and assign dedicated overhead clearance monitoring before movement begins. Inside a manufacturing line, live feed rollers continued running as clearing access reached the open nip above the machine without isolation. Open roller feed points require full stop, lockout, zero motion verification, guards, interlocks, covers, emergency stops, and safe reach tools before clearing, guiding, inspecting, or adjusting material. In a loading lane, stacked roller frames created unstable footing before load control was verified. Load adjustment requires fixed stairs, rated platforms, and stable footing before chains or restraints are handled. Roller beds, frame edges, and stacked components can shift when load tension changes. Inside a car repair shop, an overinflated tire released stored pressure and turned compressed air into a rapid release path. Tire inflation requires a restraint cage or barrier, remote chuck, calibrated gauge, pressure limit, and side position inspection. Loose tire assemblies must be restrained before pressure is added. Inside a print shop, live press rollers kept turning as clearing access reached the open feed path, pulling loose material toward the nip without isolation. Press misfeeds require full stop, power isolation, zero motion verification, guarded access, reach tools, and restart checks. Covers, signals, and the feed table must be clear before motion resumes. Inside an elevated installation area, a raised scissor lift moved beside a scaffold tower, creating unstable contact between two access systems. Elevated access systems must remain separated unless designed to work together. Lock travel, verify clearance, protect the base, and choose one rated access method before overhead movement begins. At a truck unloading bay, stacked granite slabs were released with uneven support, shifting the load until the stack moved outward. Stone slab unloading requires balanced bearing. Rated A-frames, wedges, clamps, lifting gear, barriers, and a controlled release order. Each slab must remain independently supported before any brace or side gate is released. Inside a paper production line, a large roll shifted from its cradle, turning stored lifting energy into uncontrolled rolling movement. Large rolls require verified cradle alignment, chocks, shaft locks, brake status, lifting points, travel clearance, and hard barriers before support is released or repositioned. At a construction unloading area, a suspended bundle of metal pipes swung from the lift and swept across the truck bed work path without cleared access. Pipe bundle lifting requires cleared swing radius, balanced slings, chocks, tagline control, empty truck bed access, and restraint release only after the lift path is verified clear. At a narrow unloading lane, large stacked panels shifted from the truck side, turning manual handling into an uncontrolled drop-and-swing path. Tall panel unloading requires the stack secured first, one panel controlled at a time, lifting aids, edge restraints, wedges, tag lines, open ground access, and a fixed unloading sequence. At a construction entrance, unsecured overhead material dropped from the structure, crossing the access route where ground activity was still open below. Overhead activity above an open access route requires hard barricades before ground movement continues. Secure loose materials, inspect anchors, control hoisting paths, and close the area below until overhead exposure is removed. Gravity converts even small overhead items into high-energy falling objects. Height, weight, and loosen support increase force before any warning can matter. Overhead, work needs closed access below. Secure, barricade, inspect, then continue. At a fire response roof line, a charged hose line surged across an extension ladder, forcing the ladder out of stable contact. Charged water lines can shift ladder angle and contact stability. Keep hose bends off rungs, secure ladder tie-offs, control nozzle reaction, and reduce pressure before repositioning near roofline access. On a parked truck, a suspended panel traveled across the work area, sweeping through active access without controlled clearance. Suspended panels require cleared travel paths, tagline control, verified rigging, signal control, and barricaded access before movement continues. A moving sheet must be treated as a sweeping load path, not a passable opening. A suspended panel acts like a sail and lever. Small movement creates swing momentum, and unstable contact can remove footing instantly. Suspended panels need cleared travel paths, rig, tag, barricade, then move. At an outdoor lift area, a long suspended load lost control overhead, turning the open access route into a falling load path. Lift plans must close the hook path, swing radius, and landing area before movement begins. Use hard barriers, balanced pick points, tag lines, signal control, and no access return until tension is fully released. In a driveway work area, an extension ladder was set from a pickup bed to the wall, creating unstable access with no locked base. Ladder access requires firm level ground, locked feet, correct angle, tied top support, and a clear route. Pickup beds and tailgates are moving platforms, not stable ladder bases. A ladder depends on friction, angle, and base stability. When the base shifts or the support surface moves, gravity quickly removes the climbing platform. Ladder access needs stable ground, not vehicle support. Level, lock, tie off, then climb. At a tanker parking bay, welding began on a fuel trailer while trapped vapor remained inside, turning hot work into a rapid pressure release path. Fuel trailers require cleaning, draining, isolation, ventilation, gas testing, continuous atmosphere checks, bonding, grounding, fire watch, and emergency shutoff readiness before any hot work begins. Inside a demolition area, a floor surface appeared stable until unsupported material gave way, opening a sudden drop path through the work area. Demolition flooring can look solid, while voids, weak decking, loose debris, or poor load capacity remain hidden. Use marked no access areas, barriers, stable platforms, and structural confirmation before entry. Inside a fabrication bay, an unfinished roof panel looked solid until unsupported decking opened beneath the active access path without warning. Finished-looking decking is not proof of support. Verify fastening, bearing points, edge protection, load rating, inspection sign-off, and barricades around every unverified section before access begins. A floor can appear complete while the bearing points underneath are missing or loose. Once load transfers onto unsupported decking, gravity removes the walking surface instantly. Unverified decking is not a work platform. Inspect, secure, barricade, then access. Inside an industrial traffic lane, crossing movement entered a shared path as a service vehicle advanced with limited stopping distance. Shared traffic lanes require separated routes, marked stop points, mirrors, cameras, horn signals, reduced speed, and clear right-of-way before crossing movement is allowed. At a truck loading yard, a suspended excavator boom swung between vehicles and dropped into an open travel path before clearance was controlled. Suspended equipment requires verified rigging, balanced pick points, one signal command, empty nearby routes, and full barricade control before movement begins. Access must remain outside the release and swing path until the load is landed and tension is gone. Suspended equipment stores energy through height, weight, and rigging tension. Any imbalance or sudden release can turn slow lifting into rapid swing or drop movement. Suspended loads need cleared paths before movement. Rig, balance, barricade, then lift. Inside a cosmetics plant mixing room, flammable liquid transfer near plastic totes allowed static discharge to ignite vapor across the transfer area. Flammable liquid transfer requires bonding, grounding, separation, ventilation, vapor control, and a written transfer procedure. Plastic totes, splashing flow, poor ventilation, and ignition sources must be managed as one hazard chain. Static electricity can accumulate when liquids flow, splash, or move through non-conductive containers. If vapor concentration reaches the flammable range, one discharge can ignite the atmosphere instantly. Flammable vapor plus static charge is enough. Bond, ground, ventilate, then transfer. Inside a metal fabrication bay, a suspended plate on a chain hook dropped onto the machine table while cleaning access remained beneath the load path. Cleaning below, suspended material requires the lift stopped and the plate lowered, blocked, or secured first. The sweep path must be cleared, and cleaning should continue only from a controlled offset using proper tools. Inside a warehouse assembly bay, a tall wooden frame relied on temporary support beside stacked panels before tipping into the work path. Tall frames require mechanical control before temporary support is released. Brace, clamp, or use rated handling equipment, clear the drop path, and keep spotter positions outside the movement line. Beside a parked truck, repair activity shared the wheel area with a long striking tool moving through a tight arc. Impact work requires separated rolls and a cleared strike path before force is applied. One position controls the tool path, surrounding access stays outside the arc, and the wheel area remains clear during each strike. A long bar or hammer multiplies force through leverage and speed, making its path hard to stop once motion begins. In a tight wheel space, even a small misalignment can turn routine force into uncontrolled contact. Shared space needs shared control. Clear the strike path before the next move. In an industrial laundry area, a high-speed washer destabilized, forcing fabric and drum energy outward through the open machine face. Abnormal vibration, speed surge, Drum imbalance, loose panels, or door movement must trigger stop from control, power isolation, and zero motion waiting. Inspection should begin only after the drum, belts, anchors, guarding, and load balance are secured. A rotating laundry drum stores kinetic energy at speed. When imbalance grows, centrifugal force can drive fabric, air pressure, and loose machine parts outward through the machine face. No inspection during unstable rotation, zero motion before access. In a yard storage area, shed roof work began from an unsafe access setup as thin metal roofing carried weight. It was never built to support. Thin roofing is not a work platform. Use scaffold access, ladder security, load confirmation, and structural support points before rooftop movement continues across sheet metal or wide framing gaps. Inside a stair renovation area, a loose post became an unreliable balance point beside an open floor edge, and one hard pull changed the support path. The post was not protection, it was the material being removed. Open stairwells require covers, guardrails, stable footing away from the edge, and controlled demolition force before any fixed support is pulled free. When a fixed post releases, resistance drops instantly and the pulling force turns into forward momentum. Near an unguarded opening, that momentum can remove stable footing in a split second. Guard the opening before demolition starts. No balance point is a fall control system. Inside a workshop, locking pliers were forced against a pressurized tank fitting before the grip released into the tool path with stored tension. Tool mismatch is a warning sign. Rounded or pressurized fittings require the correct wrench, seated jaws, modest clamp pressure, a clear release path, and no handle extension before torque is applied. During curbside garbage collection, the rear work area stayed exposed as an approaching car lost control behind the stopped truck. Rear collection zones require visible traffic control before pickup begins. Use lights, cones, spacing, spotter control, and a protected buffer so approaching vehicle movement is separated from the rear loading area. A stopped garbage truck becomes a fixed object in the traffic path, while the rear loading area sits directly in the approach line. Loss of vehicle control turns that narrow gap into a fast-moving impact path. Rear collection work needs a protected buffer. Control traffic first, then start the pickup. On a muddy loading road, a crawler tractor sat on a lowboy trailer when the track edge became an unsafe descent path. Heavy equipment tracks, blades, trailer edges, and side rails are not access steps. Use designed access points, stable footing, and controlled entry routes beside loaded or unstable equipment. At a food truck canopy build, unfinished roof framing carried live weight before bracing was complete, and the whole frame shifted at once. Temporary frames require posts, cross-bracing, fasteners, and lateral. Supports completed before roof work or added weight begins. Partial timber framing must not be treated as a work platform. A partial timber frame has little resistance to side force, especially when weight is placed high above the supports. One loose connection can turn the roof grid into a folding mechanism. Temporary framing is not a work platform. Brace it, verify it, then build from stable access. In a tire service bay, an inflated wheel assembly was checked from the release side when stored pressure discharged. Tire inflation and inspection require side positioning, restraint cages or barriers, remote lines, clip-on chucks, pressure gauges, and verified pressure limits before air is added or inspection continues. In a car wash bay, a rotating brush assembly kept cycling while access stayed open beside the moving sweep path. Cycling rollers, arms, and suspended cleaners are active machinery. Stop the cycle, isolate power, bleed pressure, and verify zero motion before access enters the sweep path. Rotating equipment stores angular momentum, and the outer edge moves faster than it appears. Once loose material or tools enter that sweep path, machine torque can pull the movement out of control, shut it down before stepping in. No rotating part is safe while it still has motion. On a dirt loading area, an excavator sat on a trailer when a pressurized hydraulic line released across the work path. Hydraulic systems require lower detachments, secured equipment, isolated pressure, and release path clearance before testing or repositioning. Hoses, cylinders, couplings, and fittings must be checked only after stored pressure is controlled. Under a roadside awning, a stalled automatic SUV sat with its hood open when the front travel path suddenly became active. An open hood does not confirm vehicle control. Park status, brake setting, power state, wheel chocks, and zero movement must be verified before the front travel path is approached. An automatic vehicle can still transfer engine force through the drivetrain if gear selection, braking, or idle control is not secured. Once the wheels receive torque, the vehicle becomes moving equipment. A stopped vehicle is not always a secured vehicle. Stand clear until motion is controlled. In a backyard chopping area, an axe was driven beside an upright stump, while the follow-through path stayed uncontrolled. Axe work requires a clear follow-through arc, stable footing, fixed material, and a pause whenever the cut angle or balance starts to change. The blade path must remain clear before each strike. In a roadside lifting area, a suspended machine was being guided when it swung across the work path. Suspended machines require tagline control, balanced rigging, and a cleared swing path before movement continues. Rotation, drift, or side travel should pause the lift until the path is controlled. A suspended machine behaves like a pendulum once balance is lost. Its mass, rotation, and momentum can carry it sideways faster than manual guidance can control. A lifted machine is never stable just because it looks slow. Clear the swing path before the load moves. In a roadwork corridor on a downhill grade, a compactor lost brake control and rolled into the active work path. Sloped parking requires brake confirmation, lower detachments, wheel angle control, chocks, or physical stops before the operating position is left. A parked machine on grade must be treated as stored rolling energy. Inside an unfinished mezzanine area, loose deck panels were used as access flooring when one sheet flipped open under load. Temporary decking requires locked sheets, verified edge bearing, barricaded openings, and load-rated support before access begins. A panel that only looks like flooring is not a confirmed walking surface. A panel with poor bearing acts like a lever once weight moves past its support point. Small movement at the edge can turn into sudden loss of surface. Temporary decking must be secured before access begins. No lock support, no step forward. In an industrial yard, a corroded firewater tank sat beside parked service vans when stored pressure released through the tank wall. Aged pressure vessels require corrosion checks, wall thickness verification, drainage, pressure isolation, barricades, and cleared access routes before maintenance begins. In a warehouse yard, a forklift carried a tall boxed load down a slight ramp when balance shifted toward the truck bed. Forklift unloading on ramps requires low load height, checked pallet stability, square approach, reduced speed, and no turning or lifting near the truck bed. Spotter positions should remain in marked side paths. A raised load moves the center of gravity forward, especially on a slope. Once momentum carries past the front axle, the forklift loses counterweight balance. Braking late adds a sharp tipping moment. Low loads keep stability in the machine. Slow, square, and level keeps unloading controlled. Inside a workshop, a gantry lift carried an off-center green load before the frame balance shifted and the setup started to tip. Gantry lifts require confirmed load weight, center of gravity, sling angle, frame rating, wheel locks, floor level, and hook position directly above the load before lifting begins. Inside a workshop, a forklift mast stayed live while a quick adjustment placed loose fabric near the moving carriage pinch point. Live mast access requires lowered forks, power isolation, stored energy removal, and zero motion verification before close adjustment begins. Loose material, tools, gloves, and cleaning gear must remain outside carriage, chain, roller, and attachment gaps. Loose cloth can bridge the clearance between a moving mast component and a fixed frame. Once caught, friction pulls material inward. Faster than manual reaction can release it. Live mast gaps do not forgive loose fabric. Isolate first, adjust second. At a street-side sugarcane juice station, a live feed roller kept turning while loose fabric moved near the intake gap. Feed rollers require full stop, isolated power, fixed guards, push tools, and emergency stop access before cleanup or residue clearing begins. The intake gap must be treated as a live pulling path whenever the roller is energized. Inside a service bay, a powered tool released suddenly during close-range work, sending stored energy through the work path. Powered tools require trigger checks, lockout control, correct bit or socket fit, hose security, grip stability, and a clear discharge path before force builds. Binding, slipping, or pressure buildup should reset the task before another attempt begins. Powered tools can store energy through air pressure, spring tension, torque, or compressed force. When that energy releases unexpectedly, the tool reacts along the available release path. Secure the tool before the trigger moves. Stored energy always needs a controlled path. In a freshly poured concrete area, a walk-behind trowel grabbed the slick slab and turned finishing into uncontrolled rotation. Walk-behind trowels require matched blade pitch, throttle control, handle height, footing, and clear handle path before each pass. Pulling, bouncing, or sideways drift should pause the task until control is reset. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.